Hey guys, Millennial MP. That's my username. I'm gonna go with it. Just why not? So hey, I have always wanted to do some YouTube videos, and I'll be honest, this is my first one, and I am excited to share and impart some knowledge with fellow nurses and fellow travelers out there. So I just wanted to make I'll try to keep it short, video about some of the do's and don'ts about travel nursing and some of the things that you should watch out for as a travel nurse if you're just starting off or you're not kind of comfortable. Number one, if you're going to be a travel nurse, there are a few things you have to do before you start traveling. So, step one, you have to go to nursing school and get a registered nursing license, and that's an RN behind your name. If you want to go ahead and continue on and get your BSN, that's up to you. Or most of the time, the hospital is going to impose that you get your BSN at least within 10 years, something ridiculous. I think now it's like 3 years or 2 years from when you signed a contract to work for them. So yes, I have a BSN. So most nurses now are going straight into direct BSN programs, which is fantastic. I wish they had that. They had it. It was just harder, and a lot of schools that I had applied to didn't have the program yet. So I ended up going to a different type of program. I did an accelerated program. So back to being a travel nurse. So to be a travel nurse, like I said, you got to have your RN, BSN preferred. Most hospitals want to see that. You can have certs. I have never been a cert nurse. I started looking into it, and when I started nursing many years ago, like everybody has these like titles behind their name, and all I figured out was, and I know this sounds kind of mean, but all I noticed was that if I did a certification, like the CEN, for example, critical emergency room nurse, or some of these other certifications, they're wonderful for your own self-knowledge. Like certifications, they're not required when you travel nurse, so like all power to you if you have a certified emergency room nurse or a certified labor and delivery nurse or all those things. That's fabulous, but it's not going to help you really get any more in pay. You are going to be up against the market, and if another nurse like me walks in and I have 4 years experience, and you walk in and you have 1 year experience, but you have a certification, odds are they're going to pick me because I have more experience on the floor, and most of these companies really don't care whether you have it or not. So all power to you. You are welcome to sit for as many of those exams as you want. I personally stay away from testing as much as I can. I only do it when I have to do a travel contract. So that's on that. Pay. Pay for travel nurses is very unique. It's different compared to most professions, which is why sometimes we get a bad rap. I will not lie. Most of the time, if you are savvy about where you're going and what you need to do, and have the time to do a contract that allows you to get great stipends, hands down, you will probably make more than your average staff nurse. Travel nurses are meant for shortages. Travel nurses are meant for crisis. Travel nurses are nurses who are able to be flexible, who are able to be malleable. So when they call you in for a contract, you do not have the authority like you did at your home hospital where everybody knew you. You have to start from ground zero. So remember what that feels like. Remember what it feels like your very first day of nursing on the floor, and you're like, oh my God, who are these people and what is going on? That's what you're walking into every time you sign a contract. And so you're going to have to learn who everybody is. You're going to have to learn faces. You're going to have to gain trust very quickly. You have to be flexible. You have to be friendly. Do not be that Debbie Downer. Do not be the problem starter. You only start a problem, and I mean this not to be a problem person, but you only start a problem when there's a problem against you. So you're contracted, you're at the bottom. You're going to get probably the worst assignments. So if you work in the ER, you're always going to get, the area where all the traumas come in, or you're going to get, you're going to get the floating patients, or you're going to go up to the ICU and you're going to get those extra patients in the hallway or something. Those are the assignments that hospitals like to give travel nurses because your regular staff nurse will refuse to do it. They don't want to do it. So when it comes back to having experience, you should be comfortable in your area of experience, at least to be safe, at least have 2 to 3 years. I'm not saying you can't be a good travel nurse for your first year. You can do it. But it's sometimes without having the day in and day out of being on a unit, you're not going to learn the finesse of what it takes to be comfortable in your specialty. And I can totally go more into that later. So the next thing I want to cover with you guys, aside from pay, is that yes, you're going to get paid a bit more, and you're also going to get benefits that are not taxed versus taxed. So when we sign on to a contract, our base pay is usually what is taxed. That does not mean that's what we make an hour. Okay. So I have another video that I'm happy to upload soon for you guys that will kind of go into a little bit more and break it down literally on the screen for you, that shows you what you make taxed, what you make not taxed, and talk about some of those stipends. Housing. Personally, I have never accepted housing from any of my contracts. I felt that I could probably do a better job selecting something myself. So what did I do? I Airbnb'd my way through travel nursing. It was a heck of a lot of fun. Airbnb has probably been one of the best inventions I have ever seen, and especially now for nurses, because when you're a travel nurse, you are going to be staying there for probably more than 2 weeks. Odds are you're going to be there a couple months. So I recommend that you look at where you're going to stay. And so when you belong to a company, or you've allowed that your company selects housing for you, you are running the risk that they're going to put you in a shabby place. Now, some nurses have vouched that they get placed in really nice places. I personally go in and I ask my recruiters, hey, where are you going to put me? And 99% of the time, I'm like, well, we're going to find something nearby, or we're going to find a community rental area. And I'm like, okay, that's probably where there are a lot of drugs and scary people. I'm good. Seriously, I'll find it. So I've done that. I have gone ahead and picked my own places, and I've established a lot of connections that way. I have friends now who have been like my Airbnb hosts, and I hang out and go to barbecues with them now. It's great. So don't be afraid to do Airbnb. And the other thing that's nice is that I traveled a lot with my pup, Cody, and he was not allowed to go to certain places or hotels and things like that. So having him and being able to call up some Airbnb person, say, hey, I have a dog with me. Are you guys chill with that? He is completely house trained. I have his own crate. He's very, very friendly. So as long as you're responsible for your stuff and you're able to, talk to your Airbnb host or whatever, you don't have to accept housing from your contract recruiting company. So guess what? That money gets pocketed. So the money I spend on my Airbnb, in 99% of the time, your Airbnb might be, not most of the time. I'm not going to say 99%, but most of the time, an Airbnb is going to be cheaper than what it costs to have you put up in a hotel or some kind of a long-term stay place. So I'm going to pocket the money because it's not taxed, and I'm allowed to do that. So do your due diligence, find out whether or not you can find a housing in that area that doesn't have, that has Airbnb, and so that you can save some money that way. Okay. So let me think. What else do I have for you guys? Transportation. Okay. I have a lot of experience in how bad this can go. Make sure that you research where you're going to be. So I thought that working in an area of Seattle would have amazing amazing transportation. It didn't. Seattle, Space Needle, has great transportation. But the hospital that I was going to be in did not have transportation that well. So, yeah, I had to Uber a lot. And so that really ate into my money quite a bit. So that was a lesson learned. So then I ended up bringing out my car, which saved me a lot of money. So make sure that you know how you're going to get to work. Ideally, most travel nurses do not want to spend money on transportation, period, because it's an extra expense. So a lot of us will find an Airbnb or something that is like within 5 miles. Like, no joke, wherever the hospital is, you are in the vicinity. So try to make sure that you look into that before you sign on, because sometimes you don't even know if you're going to get an Airbnb in that area or the like, Next thing, licensing and certification reimbursements. Okay, this is a secret, and I will let y'all know about this. Most travel nursing companies will pay for your license. Okay, so that means when you apply to have your license, like let's say you need to do a compact state or whatever, applying for a licensure in a different state, they will cover that 100%. So what do I tell people? Save your receipts, take pictures of them. I don't care what it takes, and everything involved in the process. So by the way, you need to have a background check. You need to have fingerprints done. You need to send in all your information. You have to have all of this stuff sent through. All of that costs money. It starts adding up. I recall total, it was like almost $250 to get all of this ready to go. So please make sure that you bill your company for that. They will reimburse you in the very first week of the contract. Okay, so you're not going to get that money back immediately because you haven't done anything for them. So they're not on the hook until you start working. So after week 1, your very first paycheck is the prettiest paycheck ever. I mean, gorgeous. Okay, that is your stipends, your first paycheck, of course, so your first 40 hours, and all of those reimbursements. Okay, so your reimbursements, like I said, those are your licenses. If you have to renew your license, your BLS, your ALS, your PALS, all that fun stuff you got to do, they will cover that. Okay, so save your receipts. Last year, I had to renew all of mine, since I try to keep them in the same year because it's just a pain to have to do every, one every couple months kind of thing. So I did them all together, and they all added up to about like $500. That's not cheap. And, usually when you work in a hospital, they'll cover that. So now that I belong to a travel nursing company, though, they'll cover that. So that's great. So those are, I believe, some of the coolest things about travel nursing. Always keep ties with them in that way. Benefits. A lot of you guys leaving a hospital will lose benefits unless you're married and you can borrow your spouse's benefits, which I recommend if you can. So when I sign contracts, I want to take home more because it's not taxed. So I just try to make sure that if I need benefits, I have a way to do it. You can pay for your benefits privately. So you can go online, find somebody, Aetna or United or all these other wonderful insurance companies. You can buy your own plan. I don't recommend that, though, because it's expensive. Most recruiting companies, though, will have their own form of benefits. So you will have to consider those costs when you start travel nursing. Yeah, that's benefits. All right, next thing. I've got extensions. Okay, here's another secret. A lot of travel nurses make some extra easy cash by extending. So an extension bonus is what we call that. So that means the hospital says to your recruiting company, and you obviously, they're going to say, hey, we really thought you were great. Now, this isn't verbatim, but we really thought you were great, and we are still short for the rest of the season. Do you mind staying more? So that's when you turn around and say to the recruiting company, hey, I don't have a problem staying an extra, 3, 4, or 5 weeks. That's not a big deal. Make sure, though, you include mind you, I am interested in an extension bonus. Because a lot of recruiting companies will just say, yeah, sure, we'll extend you, no problem. Yeah, because they don't want to pay that. So make sure you do that. It's a good idea. All right, so I think those are like the biggest topics I mentioned. A few other side notes about travel nursing in general. You need to read your contract top to bottom, A to Z. You need to make sure that that contract looks perfect. And so what I mean by that is on occasion, you will run into some difficulties with hospitals or clinics or whoever. You're going to run into certain situations where having your contract or knowing what is on the contract is very, very important. You can get into trouble if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't know the scope of your practice, or if you don't know how to protect your license. One of my biggest rule of thumbs for travel nurses or new nurses is don't do anything. I will repeat that. Do not do anything you are not comfortable doing. So please protect yourselves. Okay. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this quick video on travel nursing and the importance of traveling and understanding some of those major things, those major, I guess, points that I talked about. And then the rest of the time, that's your time when you're traveling. So enjoy it, go out, go to national parks. I mean, I have been having a blast going out to like Mount Rainier National Park. I went to the Olympic Rainforest. I mean, it has been, yes, I went to Forks. Yes, I did. I went to Forks. It was super small, but it was very cute. I really liked it. So get out there, do it. Just have fun. That's what traveling is all about. I know a few travel nurses who are traveling currently in Hawaii, and they are having a blast. So please, the sky's the limits, and I'm happy to answer questions for you guys. So please let me know. I'm Millennial MP, and thanks a lot, you guys, for watching this video. Take care.